I'm Jonathan Rose, CEO of Genesis Gold Group. As Americans, we work hard every day to provide for our families and ensure their future. But with the uncertainty facing our economy, it is more important than ever to safeguard your wealth and protect your retirement savings. Educated investors look to safe haven assets to shield themselves from the economic storm. Tangible assets like gold and silver can provide stability, security, and most importantly, peace of mind. In 1997, the Taxpayer Relief Act allowed Americans to hold physical precious metals like gold and silver in their IRAs for the first time. Today, Genesis Gold Group helps our clients transfer existing IRAs, 401ks, and other retirement accounts into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty free. With thousands of satisfied clients, 5-star reviews, and fully accredited with the Better Business Bureau, our experienced team is here to help you navigate the process. Start to finish, now is the time to educate yourself on the importance of a diversified portfolio, including tangible assets like gold and silver. Call now to receive our free wealth protection kit and digital dollar defense guide. Call now and we'll include our extremely popular silver prepper bar free when you open your account. Add it to your IRA or have it sent to your home. Call Genesis Gold Group today at 800-200-GOLD. Prepper bar only available through Genesis.
You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin. It was what I consider to be a very good weekend. I had family in town. Everything's looking hunky-dory. We're in Thanksgiving week now. Of course, MAGA is rolling along. We did have the Surgeon General debacle. I may talk about that later. I talked about it over the weekend. Expressed my opinion. Went semi-viral with that opinion, and I think I might bring it up again for today's show, but I am going to bring up a topic that is likely going to get me banned on YouTube and probably Facebook as well. For those of you, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook or any of the various non-free speech platforms, because they still do pick me up, even Apple Podcast hasn't banned me yet. Spotify did, granted. That was a long time ago, but others have not. So just in case you want to make sure that you get my stuff, go to jdrucker.com/find. That's jdrucker.com/find and subscribe to me there. I've got my Substacks, my Rumble, my X, Gab, all the various places where I post my stuff. Getter, I'm getting some pretty decent traction over on Getter. My shows do very well there. Praise God for that. But yeah, I'm probably going to get banned on the non-free speech platforms because we're going to talk about something that President Trump did this weekend. Allegedly. Now, we haven't gotten confirmation directly from President Trump yet that he is indeed going to do this, but there are credible reports that he is going to be removing as many as 15,000 members of the military. Now you might be wondering, what do they do wrong? Did they not pass their physical fitness test? Are they traitors? Do they go AWOL? What do they do? No, they're just mentally ill. We're talking, of course, about those who suffer from gender dysphoria. He is going to allegedly, we'll get confirmation hopefully soon, hopefully before Inauguration Day, which is when some people think it's going to happen. But we will allegedly have or watch the President Trump administration and probably under the guidance of Pete Hegseth, Lord willing, that they will be able to remove transgenders from active military duty. And that's a lot of people, 15,000. That's one report that I saw. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. I don't know. Maybe they're just talking about a certain type of people. We haven't gotten full confirmation of this. But as I posted over on X, I said gender dysphoria is a mental illness. It was always considered as such and has never been scientifically removed from that classification. Wokeness made it, quote unquote, hate speech, which is why I'm at risk on YouTube and Facebook, whatever, to classify the ailment properly. Removing the mentally ill from the military is a bold and righteous move. by President Trump. Again, if he is indeed going to do that, which I wholeheartedly support him doing so. We want a warfighting machine, which is what the U.S. military has always been. What we don't want is a laboratory for dysfunctional thought. And you might say, oh, that's discriminatory, that's bigoted to say that it's dysfunctional thought. It literally, until very recently, it was considered, gender dysphoria was considered widely as a form of schizophrenia. Okay? It doesn't quite, depending upon who you ask, it doesn't quite fall under the realm of being a psychotic disorder, which is, by the way, if we're talking about military, active duty military enlistment, a psychotic disorder is prohibitive. In other words, if you are diagnosed with a psychotic disorder, you cannot serve in the United States military. Now, granted, technically speaking, according to the latest science, gender dysphoria does not qualify as a psychotic disorder, but it is a mental disorder. It is a mental illness, and until we acknowledge that, again, because used to be acknowledged by everybody, but now it's like all of a sudden, again, hate speech. It's uncool to say that. We have to I guess appease people and say, oh no, you're totally a woman, dude. I mean, ma'am, that's what we're supposed to do. I don't do it. I get in trouble sometimes with certain people out here in California who don't they say that I'm a bigot because I'm misgendered. No, I just refer to people based upon their biological sex. We've got a great show here today. You know what? Before we get into the rest of the show, let's go ahead and play this clip. This is who was this? Gosh, I don't have it on here. Well, I know one of them's Nancy Mace. I forgot the journalist's name. Oh, her husband was just picked. Campos. Gosh, I forgot. Fox News lady. She's really good. She's very good, and they both refer to Congressman McBride as he, the first transgender congressman. They refer to him as he, and the left just went berserk. Watch this.
Even that's why millions of women are supporting me. That's why we're winning the message. And so many women now today feel more brave and have more courage because I've been speaking out. They feel like they are going to be supported now. We're going to see this all across the country, and we're hearing from folks all around the world, women from all sorts of countries now coming out and supporting us in our effort.
Yeah, for the record, that trans member of Congress has said that he will actually abide by the rules and not use the women's restroom in Congress. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene came out with an idea. She said, well, maybe we should just have a Democrat women's bathroom and a Republican women's bathroom, and then the Democrats can just open the doors to the trans those. And also what AOC said about not being able to recognize. I mean, I've seen Rachel Levine. I know that's not a woman. So I don't understand this idea. But Nancy Mace, you've taken a lot of abuse for standing up for the rights of women, especially in their private spaces, and we appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We've read and heard various postmortems from leftist journalists over the last 3 weeks about why the Democrat Party lost so badly during the 2024 election. Vast majority of these postmortems are comical. It's because America's racist, America's sexist, America's bigoted. Some of them have actually been pretty spot on. When the ones that are highlighting the extreme wokeness of the Democrat Party, they are correct. I would say a majority of Americans, maybe not a vast majority, but a good majority of Americans have just become so sick of it. Even Democrats are sick of the radical wokeness. They might be like, yeah, like we believe in pro-choice, we believe in various other things, but we don't think that you need to force men to be in women's bathrooms. We don't think that you have to pander to and cater to the LGBTQIA plus supremacy agenda. We don't think that you have to, the extreme wokeness of the Democrat Party, that was obviously a huge part of it. But there is one other major reason that I've heard some on the right talk about. I haven't heard anybody on the left until, oddly enough, this weekend, we saw one leftist journalist nail it. And I was shocked when I saw that it was actually Abby Phillips, somebody I vehemently disagree with on pretty much everything. I could count on 0 hands the number of times I've agreed with her, at least in the past. Now I have to add a hand in there, and I got to say she got one right. According to an article from Breitbart, CNN's Abby Phillips says Democrats have a bigger problem than wokeness. And according to the article, she says that it's because they have catered to the elite class for far too long. Phillips issued her diagnosis of the Democrat Party's issues when speaking at the Institute of Politics for the Harvard Kennedy School of Business last week. And there's a quote from Phillips. Democrats are in that place now where they have to break out of it, and I think it is a real problem. It's not as simple as wokeness or whatever. It's about people who are being incentivized to think about issues in a particular way. Okay, well, that definitely caught my attention, so I read further. Later, she says, I have observed that elites increasingly talk only to each other. True. And come to believe that because there is consensus among them, that consensus is shared broadly, and are not enough voices that are confident enough to disagree and to present alternatives. And we as a society need to find better ways to uplift divergent voices, otherwise we will become victims of groupthink. There needs to be more courage among people to speak out and to voice divergent opinions. Otherwise, I think it's a real issue, and it's not just the Ivy League. I think it's elitism in general. And she didn't. When I say she nailed it, she missed it by a little bit, but not her mentality. She missed the conclusion. Yeah, her conclusion is there needs to be more divergent thoughts amongst the left. And then within these groupthink portals, these echo chambers, the elites have to start listening to other people who are going to say, hey, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And that is quite true. But it's worse than that. And where she missed is that it's not that they don't, their agreement on the solutions is wrong. That's true. That is part of it. But it really is that they don't understand the problems, especially when you see, and we saw it throughout the campaign. We saw people go out there, we saw Kamala Harris herself do it a couple of times. We saw Tim Walz. Let's not count him. Pretty much everything he said was wrong. But we saw a lot of the proxies, a lot of the surrogates for the Kamala Harris campaign, as well as a lot of Democrat politicians themselves, completely miss it when it came to understanding the core problems. People were sick and tired of paying so much. And you had far too many of them saying, oh, the economy's not so bad. Hey, actually, this is the best economy in a long time. You guys just, you little people are just too ignorant to understand it. And then you had these celebrities, especially, it was always very damaging, extremely damaging, when you had celebrities, and especially Hollywood stars, going out there and saying, look, this economy is great. I don't know what everybody else is talking about, but this economy is fantastic. And when you had like Joe Scarborough, I think it was after the election when he said it, but this sentiment was shared throughout the campaign, was that he couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my gosh, you're telling me eggs are $5? And it's like, no, actually they're like $8. He's like, what? That's crazy. He had no idea, of course, because he is amongst the elitists. The problem with the Democrat Party isn't just the wokeness. And it's definitely not just the delusion, even though both of those play a large role in everything. The problem with the Democrat Party is that the people that are in charge, the people that are actually out there trying to set policies, trying to set messaging, these people are oblivious to the actual problems shared by tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, of American citizens. And that's why they lost. I am vehemently opposed to our tax dollars being spent on media at all. Okay, it's not just because it's propaganda. I would be against it if it was right-leaning propaganda. Let's say there was a conservative version of NPR out there. I would be opposed to it. The only way that I would be okay, at least somewhat okay, with our tax dollars being spent on media is if it was completely unbiased media, and such a thing just doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. I don't care, who claims to be unbiased. They're not. We're humans. There is bias, and it's going to come through every time. Unfortunately, our media that is funded by taxpayers, such as NPR, it is radically leftist. We're not just talking about a little bit leftist. We're talking about people that are against the truth. And if you don't believe me, here is Catherine Mayer, CEO of NPR, saying the quiet part out loud.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact, I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing us from finding consensus and getting important things done.
By golly, we can't let the truth get in the way of our narrative. We can't let it slow down the agenda. That is essentially what she is saying, thankfully. With the rise of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, we should see, I would hope, that NPR and others, any other state-funded media would be the first on the chopping block. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is heading the House subcommittee on DOGE, has said that is the case, that they should be looked at as being on the chopping block. And if they do get cut, praise God for that, because, like I said, left-leaning, right-leaning doesn't matter. Our taxpayer dollars should not be spent on media at all. Contrary to popular belief, there is nothing in the law, nothing in the Constitution that requires FBI background checks for appointees by the president, for anybody in the White House at all, not even for the president himself. You would think that, based upon everything that we're hearing through corporate media, everything we're hearing from far too many senators, that this is like, oh my gosh, this is such a horrible, awful, illegal thing. No, it's not. Okay, they want you to believe that, but it's not. The only people that are required to get FBI background checks are members of certain law enforcement agencies. Otherwise, it's the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Administration that does background checks after somebody is hired for a role, for them to be able to get top secret clearance. Security clearances have to go through that type of background check. FBI is not involved. And I'm all in favor of that. Look, that is part of the rules, and it's legitimate. It makes sense. Okay, because those people, that's what they do. They're looking for threats. What the FBI is going to be looking for is dirt. That's why you have Democrats and rhinos, far too many of them, coming out and saying, well, I'm not comfortable with voting for Trump's nominees if they don't go through an FBI background check. Look, that is the Senate flexing their muscles. That is the narcissists in the Senate pretending like this is like something like, oh my gosh, this is just so crazy. No, it's not. They're not looking for, they don't really think that Tulsi Gabbard is a national security threat. They don't really think that Pete Hegseth is going to be giving nuclear codes to North Korea, okay? What they want is to subvert the Trump administration. And that does include a whole lot of rhinos out there that are trying to prevent Agenda 47 from being fulfilled. So they're going to hide behind the FBI background checks and say, well, we need the FBI background checks in order to do this. What they're really looking for is the dirt. They don't care. They don't think that Pete Hegseth is going to do something, is going to be a traitor. They want to find dirt so that they can expose him as being, being involved with some sexual misconduct with, of course, no charges. But hey, if they can get the FBI to stir up some dirt for them, stir up some dirt against Robert F. Kennedy Jr. so that they can keep him from fulfilling his role, from making America healthy again, because by golly, just about every senator, the vast majority of them, they are fully fed and just they are in love with big pharma and big food. I mean, their campaigns, their cronies, their relatives, they all have their hands out to big pharma and big food. And well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he sure does put a potential dampening effect on their personal profits. That's it. That's all they want to do. That's why it bugs me. When you start seeing, especially, look, there are certain people that just hate Trump, okay? And then you could count most of the Democrats for that, and you can even count a lot of the Republicans for that. But the ones that are out there that are sort of, they seem to be in favor of Trump, or at least publicly they are, but then they're like, well, but we should get the FBI background checks in place. We should go, this is part of our tradition in the Senate. Well, those are the ones that you should really be concerned about. According to Mike Engelman, Real Hickory on X, he says more Senate Republicans other than the Gang of Four, McConnell, Collins, Murkowski, and Thune, are now openly speaking out against confirmation of Trump nominees without a lengthy process and FBI background checks. Maybe it's the rhinos who need to be investigated. Traitors. It is true that these people, many of them, not all of them, some of them, again, there are certain ones out there that are they just hate Trump. That doesn't matter to them at all. But there are some that are doing it for self-protection. They really want to try to find a way to stop certain Trump appointees from ever seeing the light of day. And I would say that right up there, the people that you notice are the ones they're going after, right? They're going after Tulsi Gabbard hard, saying she's a Russian agent. Tammy Duckworth and Adam Schiff out there slandering Tulsi Gabbard as a Russian agent. She can't be trusted. Well, she's going to be in charge of intelligence, and we know that the senators love access to the intelligence industrial complex and the vast amounts of money that it's able to make for them. Who else? Pete Hegseth. Could it be that that this man who's adamantly opposed to certain military actions that are currently in play during the Biden administration? Could it be that Pete Hegseth is going to be helping to cut off the outstretched arms of these senators that are reaching into the military-industrial complex? Oh, I'd say so. And, of course, then RFK Jr., well, duh, Big Pharma and Big Food, they own most senators. So it makes sense for them to want this. But they shouldn't get it. Trump needs to stick to his guns on this. The moment that he allows the deep state to start weaving their tentacles into his appointees, that's the moment when we're going to start seeing situations such as what we saw with General Michael Flynn, okay? General Michael Flynn should have been in the last Trump administration. But thanks to Mike Pence and the FBI, they stopped that. We can't let that happen again. Trump has an opportunity here to get his people through. And Republicans in the Senate need to get in line. Again, if they say it's because they're fearful for national security, I have to stress that to get security clearance, all these people, after they're hired, after they're confirmed by the Senate, they still have to go through a background check. It just won't be the FBI that's digging through dirt and looking for ways to smear these people. It will be an organization that their job is to make sure that there's no national security threats. That should be enough for every single senator out there, at least every Republican senator. And if they tell you otherwise, they're lying. After Trump was elected president, I received a couple of communications from people. One via phone, well, text, and the other one via Twitter, X, direct message. People asking me, hey, now that Trump's back in office, is the economy going to get better? And I said, yeah, in some ways it definitely will. Obviously, I mean, just Trump's presence alone will have a dramatic impact on the economy, and it will take things to the next level. But with that said, the threats still remain. Trump, Harris, didn't matter. They're still pushing, they being the powers that be, are still pushing for central bank digital currencies. They're still pushing for de-dollarization and the rise of BRICS. They're still pushing for the advancement of a worldwide economy. And while Trump will do everything in his power to prevent that, to at least slow it down, some of it is not within even the power of the United States of America itself. And this is why there is no reason, and you can see by the gold prices, there is no reason to doubt physical precious metals as a proper way to hedge against what is coming. Because it's still coming. You know, there were certain scenarios that would have happened if Kamala Harris had won, and there are certain scenarios that will happen now that President Trump has won. And those scenarios still point in the same exact direction. That's the reason why even central banks are still buying up as much gold and silver as possible. That's why banks, financial institutions are recommending to their people, buy as much gold and silver as possible. I work with a faith-driven gold company. There are a lot of gold companies out there that get recommended by hosts. The one that I like, happens to be driven by faith, and they actually do a tremendous job versus the competition. You can check out Genesis Gold Group by going to rumblegold.com. That's rumblegold.com, or read my testimony over at jdrucker.com/gold. All right, let's have a little fun. It is, after all, it is Thanksgiving week. I pray that you all are giving thanks the proper way. And that means, of course, with prayer, with honoring your family, with honoring your friends, and of course, with honoring Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But I also hope that you're honoring the tradition of Thanksgiving by eating turkey and not eating beef. There was somebody had said that there's a lot of people that eat beef. Beef Wellington is popular. I think that's what they said. Beef Wellington or some other beef dishes. I've been on this earth for half a century, and I have never not had turkey on Thanksgiving. This is America. So, but hey, my good friends over at wickedlynews.com came up with a nice story. Gobble up the weird, the 5 strangest Thanksgiving side dishes ranked. Now let's see. And I'm coming into this one blind. So I saw this story and I'm like, you know what? I want to react to it. I don't want to read it. Most stories I read ahead of time. This one, we're going to react together. So here we go. And I'm going to skip past the intro and go straight towards what they're saying. Oyster stuffing. Wow. This is from the 19th century. Stuffing is sacred, but oysters in breadcrumbs? Then that's next level. Popular in the late 1800s, this dish was all about showcasing your family's wealth, because nothing says happy harvest like shellfish in your turkey, right? Yowza. While it sounds strange today, oyster stuffing has its loyal fans who swear by the salty, briny twist. Now, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rate that as a no for me, but here's the reason. Number one, I like dressing, not stuffing. This is something that, stuffing it in the bird itself, I think is overkill. There are other things that you put inside the bird. I don't know what they are, because my wife handles all that, but her turkey comes out fantastic. Here's the thing, though. Her dressing, she makes out of cornbread. It is just absolutely spectacular. And as much as I like oysters, I can't ask for anything different, anything to be changed about her cornbread dressing. So I'm a no on that one. All right, next. Cranberry candles. All right. Jell-O molds, and this is from the 1950s. Jell-O molds were the MVP of mid-century American cooking, but cranberry candles took the obsession to all new and creepy heights. Picture this, a gelatin-based cranberry concoction shaped into a cylinder, complete with a hollowed-out center for an actual candle. Sounds like a lot of work for very little payout. But yes, someone thought desserts and fire hazards made a good combo. All right, so my verdict on this one is a definite no, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm not a huge fan of cranberries. I don't mind them, okay? And I have my cranberry whatever when it's time, sometimes, if there's no other options. But I'm not a fan of putting non-edible objects and mixing them with food, okay? I like to just go at it. I like to eat whatever's on my plate, and if it's not edible, it shouldn't be on my plate. That's just me. All right, next. Boiled carrot pudding. This is from the Victorian era. Long before pumpkin pie became the go-to Thanksgiving dessert, boiled carrot pudding was all the rage. Yuck. This dense, sweet concoction combined grated carrots, suet, I don't even know what that is. Yep, beef fat. Yummy, right? And spices like nutmeg and cinnamon. It was all then boiled together in a cloth and served with a sauce. Think of it as a bizarre ancestor to carrot cake, but without the delicious cream cheese frosting to save it. What's up, Doc? This sounds ghastly. Now, I'm going to disagree there. All right? I'm going to go ahead and throw out my first approval. I think that this is probably pretty good. Okay? And keep in mind, I'm not a huge fan of sweets. Okay? I like my desserts, but I like them a little bit less sweet. Like, I prefer carrot cake without the icing. Okay? I don't like sweets, like really, really sweets. Unless it's ice cream. There's a certain degree of sweetness with ice cream, but I generally don't eat much sugar anymore anyways. So yeah, but I would try this one for sure. Probably wouldn't like it, but I might. Next, green bean salad with bananas. I'm not even going to read that. I'm just going to look at that picture, and I'm going to picture it, and I can already tell you there's nothing that they can say about this dish apparently from the 1970s that would make me think, I can't wait to get my fork dug deep into that green bean salad with bananas. Not going to happen. All right. And I guess this is the last one, right? The last one, pickled walnuts from the colonial era. Back in the 1700s, preserving food was a necessity, but some preservation methods bordered on madness. Enter the infamous pickled walnuts, a dish made by soaking young green walnuts in brine and then pickling them in vinegar and spices. Yes, this is beyond nutty. Very nice. The result was a bitter, tangy garnish that colonists... I almost said colonialists. The colonists would pair with roasted meats or pies. While it's mostly fallen out of favor, thank God, pickled walnuts have a niche fan base that swear they're worth the effort. We're very skeptical. And I'll say this. It sounds like something I would definitely try. Okay? I've got a wide palate. That sounds like it might be interesting enough. Okay? Let's just throw it out there as I would try it, and I might actually like it. And I'm not a big fan of walnuts either, but I am a big fan of pickled stuff. So, we will see. Hopefully, none of that made you all think, man, who in the world am I listening to? This guy is crazy. When it comes to food, yes, I guess I am crazy. Republican Congresswoman Claudia Tenney made a great point over the weekend, or actually I think it was this morning. At some point she was talking to the media and she highlighted an important aspect of this Trump team that I hadn't noticed. Okay, what she said is that he's putting together a team now that he has his full cabinet as of last Friday, at least appointed. He's put together a team of good communicators, and that's something that Republicans have never done a very good job of. And I started thinking about it, and it's like, absolutely, she's right. Think back. Think back to, do you recall any interviews, for example, or any appearances at all by Rex Tillerson, the first Secretary of State under the first Trump administration? I don't recall him at all going out there and explaining what we're going to do, what's happening with the state of affairs in the State Department, what's happening with our foreign relations. I don't recall him saying anything. Now, I could imagine Marco Rubio, as long as he's got a bottle of water nearby, that Marco Rubio could get in front of a camera or get in front of a crowd, an audience. He could take questions from reporters, and he would do a fine job of explaining what it is that he's working on at any given moment, or what his team is working on, I should say, once he is the Secretary of State. I mean, and you go up and down the list, everybody we've mentioned today, and then throw in pretty much everybody else. Okay, Pete Hegseth, the guy, is a natural-born communicator. Okay, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he knows his stuff. And no, he's not a doctor, but he might as well be with everything that he knows is when he's head of HHS. Of course, Tulsi Gabbard, granted, she does come across a little bit challenging to talk to, but she doesn't shy away from the camera, at least. She does talk when she does talk. That's something different, and that's basically what Claudia Tenney was saying here. Watch.
President Trump has completed his cabinet-level appointments and presented America with a team ready to implement the agenda America voted for. It all wrapped up as you probably were just beginning to enjoy your weekend on Friday night. Joining us now to talk about that and much more is New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, good morning. What's your overall impression on this Trump cabinet team?
I think this is sensational. I mean, we have a great group of people who are experienced, much more experienced than anyone Joe Biden picked, for sure. And also people who can convey the message. I think that's what's so important, and something that Republicans tend to lack is the ability to get people on board that can actually explain. You've got some people with media experience also, in addition to like Pete Hegseth has, he was a major in the Army, but he also has a lot of strong messaging experience. He's bold. He's written a book. He can communicate well. And this is all just making the Democrats melt down. But when you look at the picks of Joe Biden, most of them weren't even qualified for the offices. I mean, it's insane. You have Javier Becerra, being the HHS director. He's a lawyer. He knows nothing about about medicine or medical issues. And so I think it's really interesting who Trump picked. And also what I love about this is it shows how open-minded President Trump is and how optimistic he is. He's giving people a chance to talk about and rise to the occasion on a lot of issues that are important to the American people that made up this sort of mosaic of supporters that President Trump has. So I think it's going to be a really exciting, very exciting year.
It's kind of funny that Real America's Voice put up as their B-roll on the side while Claudia Tenney was speaking. They put up Susie Wiles. That's one thing of all the people out there as far as communicators within the Trump administration. Susie Wiles is not one of them. She might be able to communicate great for all I know, but she is extremely camera shy. She always has been. She is the behind the scenes person who just wants to be completely behind the scenes at all times. She does not want to be in front of a camera. She doesn't want pictures taken. She doesn't want to do interviews. She just wants to strategize, which is fine for a chief of staff. Again, I have qualms about Susie Wiles, but those are we're going to give her a chance. Okay, we're going to do it now. One communicator within the administration that I think she'll do a fantastic job is incoming White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt. Now she's great, but she wasn't my first choice. Okay, not for any other reason, but she's just kind of young. Okay, she does have experience talking to the press, especially going up against journalists that oppose her. So I think she'll do great. I think she'll be fantastic. Okay, I don't want to take anything away from her, but I was actually rooting for Scott Jennings, CNN panelist. This guy, I mean, maybe it's just the casual way that he does it. He's able to just swat away the left and leftist journalists just like they're nothing to him, and I kind of like that cockiness about him. But with that said, he didn't get the job, so well, great. Fine. I will see. I think that like I said, Carolyn Leavitt will be just fantastic. With that said, Scott Jennings, having him over at CNN, maybe the only thing that saves that network from going down the same disastrous path as MSNBC is currently on. They're about to implode. We'll see if Elon Musk really does buy them. He's acting like he is. I mean, at first I thought it was okay. That's a funny joke, haha. But he keeps talking about it, so it's kind of like, I mean, either he's taking the joke too far, or maybe it's not a joke. We will see. But with that said, Scott Jennings over at CNN has continued to, I think, help improve their ratings. People actually, I mean, he's the only person on CNN that I ever watch. I never actually turn on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News for that matter on the television. I don't watch much TV myself, but I do watch clips. I see clips on X. I see clips on various other places where I see clips. And when it's CNN, it's almost always going to be Scott Jennings. And he highlighted an important point about Trump's appointments and the agenda that's coming up that I think needs to be the transition, we'll call it. And let's just let Scott speak for himself.
Well, the first thing I would point out is that in the CBS News YouGov poll that was released this morning, 60% of the American people approve of the way Donald Trump is handling his transition so far. So with all the pics and all the news that's come out of Mar-a-Lago, there is widespread approval from the American people that, hey, it seems like it's going okay. We need a couple of years of political peace in this country. When Donald Trump got elected, there was no peace, and it was constant dragging him down and investigations that were bogus and so on and so forth. This government needs to be allowed to operate. Republicans won the election. They have the presidency, they have the House, they have the Senate. Democrats need to fall in line here a little bit. They can be loyal opposition, but that doesn't mean you have to be totally obstructive. I think if they are, it's going to hurt them politically. The American people said we need some action, and Donald Trump and the Republicans ought to be able to take that action. It's the mandate delivered by the American people.
Yeah, he doesn't need anybody defending him. He can do all the talking on his own. I like how CNN Chiron said, Senate prepared for fiery confirmation hearings. We'll see. Look, I'm still very hopeful. I don't think this is the case, but I am hopeful that we will have a speedy, and they can make it quote unquote comprehensive if they want, as long as they do it fast. They can flex their little muscles in the Senate and say, oh, look what we did. The rhinos, and then the Democrats can do their belly aching. But at the end of the day, just get them in there. Let's get going. The American people want this. This is what we voted for. And it's up to us, by the way, to inform our senators that they need to get with the program. We need action. There's no time. Okay? Trump is inheriting a world that is on fire. Okay? We need his people in place, the people that he selects. We need them in place as quickly as possible. No lollygagging by the Senate, no stalling. And this will be the real test of John Thune. Is he going to stall? Is he going to, do his part to continue Mitch McConnell's legacy of opposing the Trump agenda? Yeah, my gut tells me, yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. But again, I don't want to attack people for what I think they're going to do. I want to warn them not to do it. Okay, so this is my warning to John Thune and any Republican senators that are going to try to subvert Agenda 47. Okay, this is my warning. But with that said, until they actually come out and do it, until they are bad actors, not just bad thinkers or bad talkers, but until they are bad actors, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Another person, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, even though it's crazy to say this, but John Fetterman over the weekend came out and said that he's going to actually look at the appointments that Donald Trump is putting forth, and he says that there's some that he actually likes. I think he used the word enthusiastic. He's actually enthusiastic about. He did say there's some that he just absolutely positively won't vote for, and but I would say that all the other 46 of his colleagues on the left in the Senate, they're going to vote against every single one of them, which is funny because that's not the tradition. They like to talk about tradition in the Senate. The tradition in the Senate is that you give your, if you are the opposition party to the presidency, whether you have a minority or a majority, you still give the appointees, you give them a chance. And this is, 20 Republicans voted to confirm Merrick Garland. Okay, 20 Republicans. Do you think that any Democrats are going to vote to confirm Pam Bondi? I hope they do. Okay, I hope that they're like, hey, you know what? There's no need for us to unify against. It's a lost cause. She's going to get through, so we don't need to vote in unison. And maybe with certain ones that are more controversial, certain ones that maybe some of the rhinos are going to vote against, then I could see the Democrats bonding together. You don't want to confirm somebody if anyway. Point is that I hope that I'm going to take John Fetterman at his word, which is hard for me to say because I'll admit, I've always kind of liked the guy. Okay, just because of his goofiness, he seems pretty based as far as a Democrat goes. But I've never trusted him. Okay, I don't think he should be a senator. I wish that we had put up somebody other than Dr. Mehmet Oz to go up against him. But hey, that's the past. We're focused on the future here at the JD Rucker Show. So with that said, I'm hopeful that Fetterman is a man of his word, at least partially. And I'm very hopeful, not expecting it, but hopeful that Democrats and rhinos will fall in line and let's just get this administration going with the right people in the right place as quickly as possible.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
whether you've been a prepper for a long time or maybe you're just getting started, you're just looking around and thinking how crazy it is, we usually cover the basics. You get your food, you get your water, you get your ammunition. Don't forget your ammo. You get your battery chargers, solar battery chargers, or whatever. But a lot of times I think people will forget their meds, okay? Whether it's chronic meds, antibiotics, I think a lot of people don't even realize that you can stock up on that stuff. They go to the doctor, they go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist said, oh, here's your 2-month supply or whatever. Well, you can actually stock up on a lot of these meds by going to jdrucker.com/meds. You'll talk to the good folks over at Jace Medical. They can get you a 12-month supply of certain prescription drugs. They can get you emergency meds, all sorts of good stuff, things that you may or may not need, but it's always good to have it on hand because I guarantee you, even if you don't think you need it today, you might need it in the future. jdrucker.com/meds. Over the weekend, I did a relatively lengthy discussion about Dr. Janet Neshiwat, the appointee by Donald Trump to be the next Surgeon General. I noted just a quick few things I noted. Number one, thankfully, Surgeon General is not an important role. It's more ceremonial, if anything like that. That she does not engage in setting policy, healthcare or otherwise. So there's that. Then I noted that, of course, she was very much a vax nanny and a mask nanny during her time in the private sector, and she really pushed Operation Warp Speed in New York City as a result. But the main concern that I had about her is that she was very, very proactive and aggressive in her support for Facebook's censorship of dissenting voices, those that were trafficking in misinformation, as they like to say. You know, that censorship mentality is dangerous. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing to me. I want to throw out one more, though. Just got to toss this out there. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, but she's changed her stance. Look, people can change their stances. I'm not against that. I get it. Okay? There's a lot of people who are now, for example, very avid Trump supporters who were very much opposed to him in 2016. You know, we got to see what he did, and through his first term, it's like, okay, cool, yeah, we're hopping on the Trump train. I get it. People can change their minds, but she has a tendency to change her mind on apparently everything because what she portrayed before she was appointed as Surgeon General certainly doesn't reflect what we as the MAGA nation would want in anybody. In the Trump administration. This one in particular is about abortion, and it's pretty damning if you ask me.
Law that might be passed, bill that might be passed. But as a doctor, I'm concerned for safety. I'm concerned, are we going to see an uprise in back alley abortions? Am I going to see young teenagers trying to involuntarily hurt themselves by trying to self-abort their fetuses out of fear and not knowing what to do and not having alternatives?
As I've said many times, I am not supportive of President Trump's stance on abortion. It's definitely better than the Democrat stance. He says keep it to the states, let the states decide. That's great. Hers is a bit more aggressive because she's actually promoting the idea of abortion. Okay, she's not just saying, let's stay out of it. She's saying no. Alabama. This is during when Alabama passed their restrictive abortion laws. She was saying, hey, she was using what I consider to be one of the biggest lies told in all of politics, not just in regarding abortion, but just in all of politics, and that's the notion of back alley abortions happening, becoming common as a result of abortion getting outlawed. Look, I am a purist. Okay, so I get it. I take offense to maybe not offense. I get annoyed. It really chaps my khakis when Republicans and conservatives have exceptions. Let's just stop abortion at 20 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever. Look, I oppose abortion completely, totally. So maybe I'm not the right person to tackle this issue, But I will say that when you have somebody in the Trump administration who uses those lines, the back alley abortion line, and trying to promote the idea of keeping it a choice open to anybody, well, I am very skeptical of her, to say the least. Leftist media in general is having a huge collective meltdown as we speak. Right now, they are feeling the heat. They know that they failed. They should consider maybe some drastic maneuvers, and some of them are already in play. CNN is firing people. MSNBC is on the chopping block. The only one that's surviving out of all of this is Fox News, and we'll see what happens with them. Look, they've got some reckoning of their own coming. I know that a lot of you are Fox News fans. I am not. I do believe that they are controlled opposition, and even though they do have some good show hosts on there, as an organization, as a company, they are opposed to MAGA, opposed to Donald Trump, and truly anti-American in many, many ways. This is still, I believe, Paul Ryan's company, and the people, the executives in charge, it's only for the sake of self-protection that they even pretend to occasionally align themselves with American values. But with that said, there were a couple of massive meltdowns. First, there was the meltdown of Axios founder, Axios CEO, Jim Vanderhei. This guy he hates Elon Musk. It's very clear. This is the guy that launched, he founded Politico, sold it, went and did Axios, which is basically Politico 2.0, right? And he's having a fit. And then the second meltdown happened. In response to Jim Vanderhei's meltdown, you had the panel led by Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe, who had an even more outrageous meltdown. We'll watch both of those combined.
Everything we do is under fire. Elon Musk sits on Twitter every day, or X today, saying like, we are the media, you are the media. My message to Elon Musk is bullshit. You're not the media. You having a blue check mark, a Twitter handle, and 300 words of cleverness doesn't make you a reporter. You don't do that by popping off on Twitter. You don't do that by having an opinion. You do it by doing the hard work.
Yeah, come on, slow clap, everybody. Whoa. First of all, I've got to say, extraordinary content. It needed to be said.
Yeah.
It continues to need to be said. When all of the garbage is flying around on social media, lying about reporters, lying about the hard work they do, lying about the hard work editors do, lying about everything up and down, about not only their alternative set of facts, but alternative set of facts about what people like you do. Or if social media, people lying every day, every hour, every minute about the news. What you do matters. What the New York Times does matters. What the Wall Street Journal does matters. What Jonathan Lemire does matters. What the Financial Times does matters. What NBC News and MSNBC reporters do matters. It matters.
He's right. What they do matters. The problem for them is that they lie. That's what they do. And it does matter. It's finally starting to matter. It didn't matter nearly as much before because there weren't people such as the aforementioned Elon Musk, such as Joe Rogan, such as Tucker Carlson. These people that are calling out the various lies being told by corporate media, legacy media. They are the problem. And the funny part is they know it. They are so passionate, not because they feel like they're on the righteous side. They're entitled. They feel like they deserve to be heard, even if what they tell is lies. You cannot convince me. It is impossible to convince me that any of those people on that panel, or Jim Vanderhei, or anybody in corporate media actually thought for a second that Hunter Biden's laptop was not real. If they had seen any part of it, they would have known, holy cow, this is real. They lied. They bald-faced lied to all of us. They had a narrative. They hated Donald Trump. They needed Joe Biden to win. They knew that Hunter Biden's laptop was a problem. And so they lied to us. And as a result, they have decimated this nation. Corporate media is responsible for the border crisis. Corporate media is responsible for the destruction of our economy. Corporate media is responsible for the Ukraine war. Because if it wasn't for corporate media hiding, willfully and intentionally lying about the Hunter Biden laptop, it has been reported that 17% of people who voted for Joe Biden would not have voted for Joe Biden if they knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real. 17%. That's more than enough to have switched the results of the 2020 election. So for Joe Scarborough to go out there, for Jim Vanderhyde to go out there, for these guys, these entitled journalists to go out there and feel like they have the right to lie to us, that I am not a journalist because I don't have a fancy studio, because I don't have a multi-million-dollar series of corporate interests backing me, corporate interests that do include big pharma across the board. Axios is funded by corporate interests. MSNBC, their advertisers are corporate interests. I do not have a single... the closest thing that I have to a quote-unquote corporate interest is my pillow. That's it, okay? Otherwise, all the sponsors, all the wonderful people that make this show possible, these are tiny companies. Companies that you've probably never heard of. Companies that couldn't afford 30 seconds on MSNBC. They come to people like me. And I do it because I believe in their products. I wholeheartedly and truly believe in everything that my sponsors do. You can't say the same thing about legacy media. They are, and pardon my French, but they are whores. Not just whores for the money, but whores to the narrative. They say what they're supposed to say. Not the truth. They say what they're told to say. They were instructed to hide the Hunter Biden laptop. And I'm using that as the example. Look, I think all of us, anyone watching this show right now, could name off 20. If given enough time, and it wouldn't take a lot of time. For many of you, it would take literally a matter of minutes. At the most, if you sat there for half an hour, you could count off 20 times corporate media directly lied to you. And we're not just talking about getting things wrong. Look, I will get things wrong. Any journalist who reports anything is eventually going to get something wrong at some point. But I can tell you that what I report, I truly, legitimately believe. Joe Scarborough and Jim Vanderhyde cannot say those words truthfully. They will repeat things that are based around the narrative. They will say things that will support the agenda. And if that means that they have to lie to you and to me and to America and to the world, they feel entitled to be able to do that. They feel like they have earned their ability to lie. Now look, I don't have the corporate sponsors of an MSNBC. I don't have quite as many viewers, even though I might actually be approaching it considering how few people are watching MSNBC nowadays. I don't have Joe Scarborough's his audience. My websites, my various websites do not have the same reach of Axios. But just because they have more money behind them, just because they have more credentials, they have awards dinners, doesn't mean that they have a monopoly on being the media. Elon Musk is right. We are the media. He is the media. users of X are the media. Not all of you. I would say the vast majority of people aren't the media. They're not sitting there going to X and trying to be journalists, okay? They don't sit there and comb through it trying to see what the latest is so that they can put out their commentary or anything like that. But to some extent, anybody who shares information, news, opinions on X or anywhere on social media, to some extent, they are journalists by the very definition of the word. They are journaling. I mean, that's the easiest way to put it. So don't tell me that what you do matters, but what I do does not matter. Don't tell me that because you have Jim Vanderhei, you have a fancy dinner where they're supposed to honor you for your contributions. They're honoring you for your lies. They're honoring you for your deceit. They're honoring you because you have been successfully evil enough to take money from corporate interests, to take money from very bad people, to take orders from those who want to lie to the American people. That's why you're being honored, because of your evil. As far as Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski and who I saw Al Sharpton on there and some other people in the panel, they're clapping at his words, clapping at his passion and his truths. Those truths, too, are lies. You are the media. I am the media. And there's nothing they can do anymore to stop that. The door's been opened. Pandora's box is unleashed. So yeah, they feel entitled, but I'm feeling a little cocky lately. Because for the first time in my life, I do feel like we have an opportunity to finally close the door on legacy media and open the door to the truth. I've got a crazy one for you that you probably did not have on your bingo card. Is CNN trying to be legitimately more fair and balanced? I know I just got off a rant about Joe Scarborough and Jim Vanderhei, but and I was lumping in corporate media to include CNN. They are definitely legacy media, corporate media, and they are unhinged in many ways, and they're feeling the heat. But maybe they're feeling so much heat that they don't want to fall under the same scrutiny, the same tyranny's the wrong word, the same retribution that MSNBC is falling under. To be fair, they've always been the closer of the two, of the two major left-wing media cable news networks. They are the ones that are a little bit less unhinged. They've always been somewhat I wouldn't say to the right of, you can't not be to the right of MSNBC, but they've been closer to the center than MSNBC has, to the point that even, I think everybody recalls that episode of, or that segment of Stephen Colbert's show where Caitlin Collins was on there and he said something about them being fair and balanced, and the audience started laughing, and she was legitimately surprised. She was like, "What was that? Was that supposed to be a laugh line?" Because I think that many of them do think that maybe that they hate Trump. That's clear. Most of them do, but I think that they try to be fair, at least in their own minds, right? Anyway, so CNN did a segment this morning talking about Trump, the popularity of Trump's transition, how so much more popular than it was following the 2016 election, and it's true. And the facts that you're about to hear, the statistics, the surveys or whatever that you're about to hear, that is news. But I think almost not necessarily bigger news, but a secondary narrative here is that they being the two gentlemen who were reporting on this, they weren't standing there gnashing their teeth. Okay, they were reporting the news, asking serious questions and coming up with some serious responses. And I mean, look, I'm not going to ever watch CNN, okay? And I know I mentioned earlier, pretty much the only clips I ever watch are through of Scott Jennings. But with that said, I mean, if they do report like this, generally speaking, on a regular basis, who knows? Maybe they've got a future. I'm not going to watch them. You're probably not going to watch them. But maybe, just maybe, they won't go down the road of MSNBC. Let's watch this. Where'd I put it? There it is.
Take a look here. President Trump's transition net approval. You go back to November of 2016. Look at this. It was just at plus 1 point. Just at plus 1 point. That is well below the historical norm. Look at where we are today. Significantly higher, plus 18 points. That's 17 points higher on the presidential transition net approval rating. The bottom line is this. If 8 years ago Americans were lukewarm on Donald Trump, at this particular point, they're giving him much more the benefit of the doubt. A lot more Americans are in love with this transition. This much more meets the historical norms where normally presidents get that boost coming out of their victory. And what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's presidential transition is getting a thumbs up, and dare I say, 2 thumbs up from the American people.
And, you know, we're still on the appointment phase at this point, but it does give insight to sort of where this team is thinking to lead some of these key departments, of course. I mean, but how do people feel about the prospects of his presidency, given the context of some of these picks?
Yeah, it's not just that they like what Donald Trump is doing right now. They're optimistic for the future. So, again, let's compare ourselves now versus where we were 8 years ago. And what you see 8 years ago, 53% of Americans were scared or concerned, the majority towards the upcoming Trump term. Look at where we are now. The shoe is on the other foot. 53% of Americans are excited or optimistic. It's flip-flop, where a narrow majority 8 years ago were scared or concerned about the upcoming Trump term. Now what we see is that the majority is excited or optimistic about the Trump term. So what we're just seeing is very different numbers from where we were 8 years ago. 8 years ago, folks really were not that in love with the Trump transition. Now they are, and more than that, looking forward to the upcoming Trump term. 8 years ago, the majority were scared or concerned. Now the majority are excited or optimistic.
I mean, they weren't flipping out. They weren't gnashing their teeth. They were actually just reporting the news as it was. And so maybe there is a future for CNN somewhere, some way. You're not going to watch them. I'm not going to watch them. But maybe they can keep other people watching them. And if they do go down that road of trying to just report the news, who knows? Maybe they can survive. Speaking of survival, I do have, my good friends. There's really only a couple of people in Hollywood that I actually like. And 2 of them I actually know very well. Neil McDonough and Dean Cain. These guys are fabulous. I'm going to be interviewing both of them, I believe. Not together, but one at a time. I'll be interviewing them here in the very near future, talking about being conservatives in Hollywood, being Christians in Hollywood, and how they are able to not just survive but thrive in many ways. But with that said, I do have it's a sponsored clip, but I'll admit it was actually very enjoyable. Let's see Neil and Dean interacting together.
I have 1 kid. You have 5 kids.
That's what you do.
How do you? That's incredible.
It's kind of like being an FBI agent. You're always kind of monitoring them and making sure everyone's safe.
Makes good sense. You know, I'm actually a real agent. I'm not an agent. I'm actually a deputy sheriff.
Are you really?
Right there. Many years.
Are you serious?
For real life, real life.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're a sheriff.
Yep.
Played at Princeton. Pro football player. Greatest superhero of all time.
Never drafted to Major League Baseball like you for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thank you very much.
Knuckleballer. How do you hit a knuckleball?
You don't.
You don't?
You don't.
That's the whole point.
That's the beauty of it. You know, we may have always played on different sides, being the superhero or the supervillain. But we have a lot more in common than I thought that we did.
Which is shocking, because one thing's for sure. Genesis Gold Group is a company that we both trust. They make safeguarding your IRA or your 401k as simple as possible. And I need simple,
That's right.
I'll be honest.
And with their stellar reputation, they're as solid as the gold that they sell.
Like this gold right here. So call Genesis Gold Group today at 1-800-200-GOLD.
What is that?
This is what they call a prepper bar. So like you can break off see these little pieces? Oh, it's on both sides.
And it's great because you can carry that around small. And
oh yeah, and you can literally use it to spend.
Or it's not like this one.
What?
This is a big fella. This is a really great one.
Is that real?
This is a real one. You want to hold it? It's heavy.
Holy smokes.
That's pretty great. Yeah, you can get them one of those from Genesis Gold yourself.
Hey, you guys see this? Look, check
Dean,
this out.
Dean, that's my kid's college tuition money. Hold on, we'll be back. Dean!
Yeah. Who's the supervillain now, huh?
Yeah, that's my goal, Dean!
You know, I really love the new X. I'll admit, here's an admission. I'm guilty. I have finally gotten back into what was formerly known as Twitter after years of being against it. There was a time, believe it or not, true story, I was the 221st person in the world to get 100,000 followers on Twitter. There was, at the time, I don't know if it's still there, maybe it is, but at the time there was a list, and this is, we're talking, what was it, 2009, 2010? We're talking, there just weren't a whole lot. You had this is back in the day when the two biggest accounts were Ashton Kutcher and CNN Breaking, which wasn't even affiliated with CNN. Later they ended up buying it, but neither account is even active anymore. Those were the two big ones. They were racing for 1 million followers. Today it's like any random Joe can get to 1 million followers if they put in enough effort and have some great content, right? Well, I was into Twitter for a while, and then I stopped. I guess it was probably around 2018-ish when I say stopped, I mean I think I erased the app from my phone completely and didn't go onto Twitter for 8 months or something like that. It was crazy. So very, very odd time in my life, but still. So I sort of got back into it a little bit, and I played around on Gab. I still do. I played around on Getter and Parler and Truth Social and all these other social sites. I've left Facebook long ago, and I've never gone back, nor am I ever going back. Sorry. Left Instagram, really. Anyway, point being is that I am back this last couple of weeks, really ever since the election. I have become more focused on Twitter. And when I say focused, it's that I'm starting to realize that what Elon Musk has done has been nothing short of great. It really has been. He has made Twitter, X, great again. And so I do spend more time there. But really, and to be clear, it's not because, I want to be popular. It's because that's where the information is. That's where most of the videos that I find, that I post here, or on thelibertydaily.com, or on conservativeplaylist.com, or wherever it is that I post them, chances are probably 8 out of 10 I find them on Twitter, or X, sorry. And so, yeah, it's in news. I get the breaking news from there. We posted a story, first one to post, about how Kim.com, it was early this morning, 2 a.m., Kim.com says that he suffered a major stroke and was in recovery. We were able to get that news, and we were the first news outlet to put it out. Nobody else. Well, we beat everybody, and that's thanks to Twitter, because we were watching various Twitter feeds. Anyway, and it's X, not Twitter. Point being is that I also, on Twitter, I saw this post. This is from 2 years ago. This was not very long after Elon Musk had bought it, and Mehdi Hassan, MSNBC, I think, maybe CNN, but I think he's MSNBC. I don't know. I don't watch him, but just watch this. I'm not going to set it up. This is embarrassing.
Elon Musk was supposed to be a vanguard of personal freedom, a genius whose brilliance with rocket ships and electric cars would bring Twitter to space-age greatness. Instead, the microblogging platform that once enabled regular people to speak truth to power, the very powerful networking and organizing tool that helped to herald in the Arab Spring and the summer of racial justice protests, that social media network that made the world a little smaller is now on the brink of collapse, technologically, economically, and culturally.
Wow. They're failing in their technology is failing. Their finances are close to collapse. They're culturally close to collapse. What an idiot. I mean, I've had my qualms. I've had problems with it, and I still do. I still have some healthy skepticism about Elon Musk, just because, and it's not against him. I'm so glad what he's done so far for the nation, what he's done for X, what he's done for President Trump. Fabulous, great stuff. What he's going to do with Doge promises to be amazing stuff as well. Okay, so my qualms, they go back towards his adoration, concern, but also, he says, we got to fear AI, but then he buys an AI company. We've got to fear of China, but then he's deeply embedded with China, and of course there are his past connections with the World Economic Forum. All I'm saying is that if you were going to plant a billionaire bad guy who can sway the right, Elon Musk is the guy. I'm not saying that's the case. I personally, I'm starting to come around to the idea that maybe he is one of the good guys. But I'm not 100% there yet. I'm at about 75%. There's still a 25% chance that the guy who wants to put chips in your brain that can connect to the internet and then has control over the internet through Starlink, that maybe there's some reason for concern. That's all I'm saying. I'm not ripping on Elon. I'm giving him a chance. And again, for the last 5-6 months, he's been absolutely fabulous. Okay, you could make the case, and I think that it's a fair case, that he contributed tremendously to President Trump's victory. If he hadn't bought X, if X was still the censoring, radical leftist organization that it was, spying on us, giving our information over to the government and doing all the things that they were doing before he took over, if they were still doing that, then there really is a good chance that Trump wouldn't have won. Okay, and then his endorsement, his promises, everything that he's done, he seems to be on the good side. But again, if he were a bad guy, he wouldn't do anything differently. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. All right, enough sort of ripping on Elon. For now, for today, we'll say that he seems to be a good guy. There, I said it. Okay, 75% chance that he is on the right side here. For those of you who do, because I am spending a lot more time on X, for those of you who want to follow me, I strongly suggest doing that. Not just because I'm cool, but because sometimes you actually get sneak peeks. Some of the pre-recorded segments of this show, I will put them on X before I put them anywhere else, believe it or not. Crazy stuff there. So follow me, JD Rucker, okay? X.com/JD Rucker is my handle there, and hopefully that'll be my handle going forward. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode, but in the meantime,